Let's move on to the United Kingdom now. The Labour Party is planning a major policy shift for housing asylum seekers. Instead of housing them in large military sites, it says it will distribute migrants across various locations in the UK.
The issue of immigration has long been a contentious topic in the United Kingdom, drawing intense debate and scrutiny from various sectors of society. In recent years, the UK government's approach to curbing immigration has not only been a subject of national discourse, but has also elicited strong reactions from its European neighbours. The strategies and policies implemented to stem the flow of immigrants have sent shockwaves throughout Europe, raising questions about the balance between national sovereignty and humanitarian obligations, as well as the implications for European unity and cooperation. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. The roots of the UK's hardline stance on immigration can be traced back to the 2016 Brexit referendum.
It is reminiscent of the Aegean Sea in 2015, but this is the English Channel. Refugees, desperate to make it to the UK, pay thousands of dollars to risk their lives in flimsy inflatable dinghies on the world's busiest shipping lane.
The decision to leave the European Union was significantly driven by concerns over uncontrolled immigration and the desire to regain sovereign control over national borders. The Leave campaign capitalized on fears about the influx of migrants, emphasizing the need for stricter immigration policies. This sentiment was encapsulated in the slogan, "Take Back Control," which resonated with a substantial portion of the electorate, ultimately leading to the historic vote to exit the EU. Post-Brexit, the UK government swiftly moved to implement policies that reflected the will of the people.
And Scampton in Lincolnshire. This was aimed at reducing the cost of housing the migrants in hotels. The Labour intends to substantially increase the procurement of dispersed accommodation.
One of the most notable changes was the introduction of a points-based immigration system, akin to those used in Australia and Canada. This system prioritizes high-skilled workers and aims to reduce the number of low-skilled migrants entering the country. Applicants are assessed based on various criteria, including job offers, salary levels, English language proficiency, and educational qualifications.
An extra 2,200 right-trained officers are being deployed to confront whatever comes next. After days of a fray on the streets, the Prime Minister chaired a second meeting of the Emergency Cobra Committee.
Over 400 people now have been arrested.
By setting high thresholds for entry, the UK hopes to attract only those who can contribute significantly to its economy while limiting the influx of lower-wage workers. One of the most significant and controversial measures the UK has taken to reduce immigration is the introduction of the Nationality and Borders Bill. This legislation, which aims to overhaul the asylum system, has been criticized for its stringent measures and perceived harshness towards refugees and asylum seekers.
Anti-immigration and anti-Muslim demonstrators, which quickly descended into violence, arson and looting. Cars have been set on fire, and some unverified social media videos have shown ethnic minorities being attacked. False messaging on online.
The bill proposes to criminalize unauthorized entry into the UK, potentially resulting in up to 4 years in prison for those who arrive without prior permission. This move is seen by many as a drastic step away from the UK's historical role as a refuge for those fleeing persecution and conflict. The Nationality and Borders Bill also includes provisions to send asylum seekers to third countries while their claims are processed. This proposal, which mirrors policies implemented in Australia,
Over 7,000 so far this year in about 500 boats. They account for a small fraction of the total number of asylum applications, but they've prompted the UK to take a hard stance.
Take the example of someone who enters our country illegally on a small boat.
has been met with widespread condemnation from human rights organizations and European governments alike. Critics argue that this approach not only shifts the burden of asylum seekers onto other countries,
posted disinformation on social media claiming the suspect was an immigrant in the UK illegally. It went viral, but it wasn't true. Authorities say the suspect is a 17-year-old born in the UK.
And social media clearly put rocket boosters under some of the organised,
but also endangers the lives and well-being of vulnerable individuals who are forced into prolonged periods of uncertainty and potential danger. Another cornerstone of the UK's strategy to curb immigration has been the implementation of a points-based immigration system post-Brexit. This system prioritizes skilled workers and sets stringent criteria for entry, such as job offers, salary thresholds, and proficiency in English.
Or that house the asylum seekers. Now, according to reports, the new approach will focus on using empty homes and former student blocks with self-catering facilities.
While this policy aims to attract highly skilled individuals who can contribute to the economy, it has also been criticized for excluding lower-skilled workers who are vital to sectors such as agriculture, healthcare, and hospitality. The abrupt reduction in available workforce has led to labor shortages and disruptions in various industries, highlighting the complex and often unintended consequences of restrictive immigration policies. The UK government has also intensified its efforts to combat illegal immigration through enhanced border controls and increased surveillance.
Sunday's attack on a hotel housing asylum seekers in Rotherham, condemned as terrorism by a former police chief who once led the country's response to the issue.
It's very difficult to prove ideological intent when you're talking about terrorism, but I think it should be a warning to...
The introduction of measures such as electronic travel authorization, ETA, for visitors, and the expansion of biometric data collection are intended to tighten security and prevent unlawful entry.
What it is, far-right thuggery.
Get yourselves out. There we go.
However, these measures have raised concerns about privacy and civil liberties, with critics arguing that they create a surveillance state and disproportionately target certain ethnic and national groups. The impact of the UK's immigration policies extends beyond its borders.
Platforms has also wrongly identified the suspected killer as a radical Islamist migrant. Police say high-profile figures amplifying these claims have contributed to the public response to the Southport killings. Former leader of the defunct anti-Islam,
significantly affecting its relationship with the rest of Europe. One of the most visible manifestations of this tension has been the situation in the English Channel, where increasing numbers of migrants attempt dangerous crossings from France to the UK. The UK's stringent measures and rhetoric have strained its cooperation with France and other European countries.
People, we're not terrorists. That's how I feel like. I feel like we're being threatened. It's not safe.
Amid the chaos, counter-protesters pushing back.
Refugees are welcome here.
Why is this happening? The immediate trigger, the murder last week of 3 young girls in a horrific...
leading to diplomatic clashes and calls for more coordinated and humane approaches to address the migrant crisis. The shockwaves from the UK's immigration policies have also reverberated through the European Union. The UK's departure from the EU and its subsequent tightening of immigration controls have...
Some say Prime Minister Johnson's administration is simply adopting a policy long employed by Australia, which British ministers have themselves criticised in the past. The number of asylum seekers is actually down significantly since a peak in 2002.
Challenge the principles of free movement and solidarity that underpin the European project. Many EU countries are grappling with their own migration challenges and view the UK's hardline stance as a potential precursor to similar policies being adopted elsewhere. This has sparked debates about the future of immigration policy in Europe and the need for a unified, compassionate response to the complex issue of migration. In addition to policy changes, the UK government has engaged in a robust public relations campaign.
800 individuals. Recent reports, however, revealed harsh living conditions, including scabies outbreaks, leading to legal actions against the Home Office. Similarly, RAF Scumpton was intended to house up to 800 people.
To justify its approach to immigration. Through media appearances, speeches, and social media, government officials have sought to frame the narrative around immigration as one of control and security. They argue that the measures are necessary to protect national borders, maintain public order, and ensure that the UK can effectively integrate those who do settle in the country. This messaging has found resonance with segments of the British population that are concerned about the perceived impact of immigration on social services.
Tonight, violence and vitriol on the streets of the United Kingdom, targeting migrants and mosques in an ugly eruption of anti-immigrant sentiment. For more than a week, riots breaking out in city after city.
Housing and job opportunities. However, the emphasis on control and restriction has also led to a polarized public discourse. While some support the government's tough stance, others view it as a betrayal of the UK's values of compassion and openness. This division is not only evident within the UK, but also reflected in the international response. European leaders and institutions have voiced their dismay at what they perceive as a departure from humanitarian principles and a retreat into isolationism. The implications of the UK's immigration policies are far-reaching. Affecting not only those who seek to enter the country, but also the broader geopolitical landscape. For instance, the reduction in immigration from the EU has had economic repercussions, particularly in industries that relied heavily on migrant labor. The agricultural sector in particular has faced significant challenges due to labor shortages.
Had committed to closing these sites. The new government also decided to stop using the BB Stockholm barge in Portland. The National Audit Office says the Tory plans
leading to concerns about food security and increased costs for consumers. Furthermore, the UK's stance on immigration has influenced political dynamics within the country. It has become a key issue in electoral politics, with parties on both the left and right using it to galvanize support and shape their platforms. The Conservative Party in particular has positioned itself as the defender of national sovereignty and border control, while opposition parties have criticized the government's policies as inhumane and economically damaging.
This hotel, used to house asylum seekers, set ablaze. More than 400 arrests so far, including nearly 150 just this weekend. Police warning the number will rise.
I can confirm today we have seen at least 12 of our officers injured.
The shock and dismay from Europe also highlight the broader challenges facing the international community in addressing migration. The movement of people across borders is a complex phenomenon driven by factors such as conflict, economic disparity, and climate change. Effective solutions require international cooperation and a balanced approach that respects both the rights of migrants and the sovereignty of nations. The UK's policies, while aimed at addressing domestic concerns, underscore the difficulties in achieving this balance and the potential for unilateral actions to disrupt regional and global stability. Despite the criticisms and challenges, the UK government remains steadfast in its commitment to reducing immigration. Supporters of the new policies argue that they are necessary to protect national security. Maintain public services, and ensure that immigration benefits the country as a whole. They contend that by prioritizing high-skilled migrants, the UK can address skill shortages and boost economic productivity. Moreover, proponents believe that the measures will restore public confidence in the immigration system.
Authorities blaming much of the violence on far-right extremist groups, some with neo-Nazi ties. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, on the job only a month, vowing to deploy the full force of the law.
Whatever the apparent motivation, this is not protest.
And reduce the social tensions that have been exacerbated by perceptions of uncontrolled migration. As the UK continues to implement and refine its immigration policies, the rest of Europe watches closely, grappling with the implications for their own countries and the collective response to migration. The debate over immigration is far from settled. And the shockwaves from the UK's approach will likely continue to reverberate across the continent for years to come. The challenge remains to find a way forward that respects national interests while upholding the values of compassion, cooperation, and human dignity that are essential to a just and stable world. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, what's your take on the UK's immigration solution? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.